Okay. We'll start with our blessing. Baruch atah
Atah
Adonai Eloheinu
Eloheinu
melech
melech
haolam
haolam,
asher
asher
bachar
bachar
banu
banu
mikol
mikol
ha'amim
ha'amim,
v'natan
natan
lanu et
lanu et
Torato.
Torato,
Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai
Adonai,
notein
notein
haTorah.
haTorah.
Let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and mute everybody. Okay. Okay, so nice to see all of you. Thank you for joining me. And this week's parsha for the United States is the parsha of Shalach, which is the story of the spies. The spies, this is my birth parsha. I feel a real connection to it because for many reasons, not the least of which is that 55 years ago, around right now today, I was walking the streets of Jericho at a time when one could do that. And we were here I celebrated my 15th birthday in Israel. And when we were here, we went to Jericho with we called him an uncle. I'm not sure exactly who he was. He lived in Israel as a family. And we went to Jericho. It was the heat of the day in the summer. Nobody was on the streets at all. We're walking around. Some very kind Arab person came out on the streets basically saying, like, what are you doing out here? Invited us into his covered walkway and brought out water and fruit. And we sat down and had some refreshment before we went out. That was a different time. And then we're walking on the street, and the only other person on the street, for old time Denver people you might know, was Harry Vallis from Vallis TV. And he was walking on the other side of the street, and we're like, that looks like Harry Vallis from Vallis TV. And there he was on the other side of the street. So that was my encounter with Harry Vallis in Jericho. Never in a million billion years would I have believed that 55 years later, I would be sitting here looking down at that very city from the comfort and safety of my dining room and sharing this all with you. So it is a very special moment. The reason it's so special, Jericho specifically, is the Haftorah for this week, is the story of Joshua, who after the death of Moshe, then brings the Jewish people into the land of Israel to Jericho. And we always say Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. There was no battle. There was no battle. The Jewish people marched around Jericho, blew the shofar, and after 7 days, the walls came down. There was no battle. It was a complete miraculous deliverance. And this past week, there was a tour, which I did not go on, that the Army somehow had the people and the presence of mind to lead people to go to the ruins of Jericho and supposedly to the place where Rachav, who is the woman who protects the spies who come in on behalf of Joshua and the Jewish people. So there was a whole tour deep in Jericho. I did not participate in that. I prefer to think about that in my head. And another time in the future, I will go there, maybe with all of you, and we can go explore that. So this is a very, very challenging parsha because it is because the result of the sin of the spies. Now, I'm going to assume that most people are familiar with this story, which is the Jewish people had left Egypt. They stayed at Mount Sinai for about a year, and then they left. And their plan was to march into the land of Israel. And beforehand, Moshe is going to send the spies. So let's go and turn to the beginning of the parsha, because what we're going to look at, this is based, as I said in my email, this is based on the teaching of Rabbi David Foreman. And it has totally changed my understanding and my appreciation for this narrative and for a deep understanding of what was going on and what the sin of the spies was. Now, I'm sure that many of you have learned other things over the years. And as we know, there are 70 faces to the Torah, 70 different understandings and perspectives. So this is not to negate any of those. This is to add to it and shine a different light from a different angle. So on page 799 is the beginning of Parshas Bishalach. Chapter 13, verse 1, Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, "Send forth men, if you please, and let them spy out the land of Canaan that I give to the children of Israel. One man for each from his father's tribe shall you send, every one a leader among them." Moshe sent them forth from the wilderness of Paran at Hashem's command. They were all distinguished men, heads of the children of Israel were they. Okay, now we're going to get into our discussion here, and much of it is going to pivot on recognizing that the translation into the English is not accurate, and we need to go to the Hebrew. So the word that is used here, first of all, we're going to look at 4 specific aspects. The first is that it says that Hashem says to Moshe, "Shalach lecha," send for yourself. Now, "Shalach lecha" might sound a little bit familiar to another command that was given to somebody many years beforehand, where there was a command to go someplace, and that is Avraham Avinu, who was told, "Lech lecha," and that is understood to be to go for your benefit. Go to yourself, go for your benefit. So when it says, "Shalach lecha anashim," send forth men, it's really send for the benefit, send for your benefit, anashim, men. And when it says anashim, it means people, and we see that it already said that it was supposed to be people of stature. It was supposed to be 12 men, one from each of the tribes. Now think about yourself if you are a Mossad agent and you're going to do a spying expedition. Who are you sending in for that? Are you sending in the leaders of each of your tribes, and are you sending 12 people to go in? If you're going on a spying mission, it's like, if you're going in to spy, you want to do something that's a little less obvious, like not 12 people, and not people who were selected because of their sleuthing abilities. These are people who are the leaders of their tribes, and there's 12 of them. We know the difference between the 2 missions because 40 years later, for the Haftorah, when Joshua sends in spies, he sends in 2 people who go in quietly and stealthily, not 12 people going in. Now, look at the word also, the Hebrew word. The English says, "Let them spy out the land." That is not what the Hebrew says. The Hebrew says, "Veyaturu," from the word latur. Tour, like the English word to go touring. So what's the difference between a tourist and a spy? That's a very, very big difference. If you're going to tour, you're going to get to know a place. You're going in to check it out, but check it out in a way that's not to criticize it. You're going in to get to know it, to appreciate it. And Moshe is going to tell them. So we're going to look at that word, v'yaturu, and they are going to tour. Now, very interestingly, even though everyone will say this is the parsha of the Meraglim. Meraglim means spies. That's what from the word like regel, like to go on your feet to spy something out. So keep your finger here, or put your ribbon here, and let's just for a moment go to the Haftorah when the fact is a spy, and let's just take a look and see what it says. So we're going to go to page 1184. Okay, and this is the Haftorah for Shalach. This is the story of Joshua. So this comes from the book of Joshua. And it says, "Vayishlach Yehoshua," and Joshua, son of Nun, min hashitim shnayim, he sent 2 anashim, miraglim cheresh, from the word Meraglim, to be, and it says in the Hebrew, to spy secretly. If you're going to spy, you want to have be secret. And the word is meraglim. Even though people say this is the story of the meraglim for the parsha, number one, that wasn't what they were assigned to do. They were assigned to Latur, to go into the land. And nowhere in this parsha is the word meraglim used. You will go through the entire parsha, no meraglim. No meraglim. The word that keeps being used is the Latur, that they went to Tur. So there is another place in the Torah where spies are mentioned. Now, what we just said about Joshua, that's already in the book of Joshua. So that Joshua, the book of Joshua is the first book after the end of the 5 books of Moshe. Like when Moshe dies, then the next book of Torah starts, the book of Joshua. But there is one other place where somebody is called spies. Who's spies? Etta.
Yosef and he accuses his brothers of being spies.
Joseph and his brothers. And there we have, he says, Meragli matem, you are spies. They're like, no, we're not. We just came to see. It's like, you are spies. So that's what gets Rabbi Foreman's attention. Oh, if we're talking about spies, well, if we're talking about spies, let's go to the place where spies are actually mentioned. And maybe there's something we can pick up here and notice that will tell us about why we refer to this week's parsha as being about the Meraglim, about being spies. So our first question is, where are Meraglim talked about? It's actually talked about with Joseph. Is there anything else? So now we're going to be going kind of back and forth between Genesis, like Joseph's story, and this week's parsha. Okay, but first what we're going to do is we're going to look at the phrases, the wording here in our parsha, so we know what we're going to be looking for in the Joseph story. So the first thing we're going to see is the idea of the sending, the command to send. Shalach lecha anashim. Send for yourself for a benefit these men that Moshe is told, that God tells Moshe, Shalach lecha anashim v'yaturu et eretz Canaan. Go and send forth. And that they are anashim and they're supposed to be touring. And then he says then the next thing that happens is they're going to go on they're going to go out and that they're going to come back. And Moshe tells them on the bottom of page 799, Moshe sent them, and it says again, to spy out the land, even though that's not the word that is used. It says to see it. And he said to them, ascend here in the south and climb the mountain, see the land. How is it? And the people that dwells in it, is it strong or weak? Is it few or numerous? And how is the land in which it dwells? Is it good or is it bad? And how are the cities in which it dwells? Are they open or are they fortified? And how is the land? Is it fertile or is it lean? Are there trees in it or not? You shall strengthen yourself and take from the fruit of the land. The days were the season of the first ripe grapes, not groups. So Moshe is clearly giving them an assignment to check out the land and find out all about it. Like, check it out. Where's the fertile places? Where are the dry places? Are there trees or not trees? It's fortified, whatever. So that was the assignment. They come back, as we know, and they give their report, which starts on page 803. I'm sorry, before we say that, hold on a second. Let me just check one word here. Okay. 13. Oh, okay. They give their, sorry, hold on. So I just need to let somebody in. They give their report and they start off with that it is a land of milk and honey, and this is its fruit. And then they start talking about all the challenges, the people that there are powerful and that's fortified, and all these people are there. And Kalev in verse 30 silences the people towards Moshe and says, we can conquer it, we can do it. But the men continue on and they say, we cannot ascend to that people, for it's too strong for us. And then it gives the final verdict. It says, verse 32, they brought forth to the children of Israel an evil report on the land that they had spied out. Now, the word that is used for what they did, let's see, verse 32, so that's Lamed Bet. Vayotziu, it's next to the Lamed Bet in the margin in the Hebrew. Vayotziu dibat haaretz, dibat haaretz. Now, because this whole event is going to trigger the future, the 40 years in the desert, and it's going to be the date that this all happened is going to be Tisha B'Av, and it's going to be the destruction of both temples. And when we start working on ourselves as we prepare for Tisha B'Av and we want to fix what's the sin that we committed, almost always the focus is on Lashon Hara. It says like that they spoke Lashon Hara about the land. Now, Lashon Hara, not that any Lashon Hara is good, but there's a real range of Lashon Hara. There can be just something that is mildly negative but true. It could be inadvertently negative and true. But then it goes on a continuum. And it does not say that they brought Lashon Hara about the land. What's the word they use? It says, verse 32, Vayotziu dibat haaretz. Dibat haaretz. Diba is a word that is much, much stronger. And it means I'll give you a definition. This comes from Rabbi Foreman and also based on Rav Hirsch. It is when you say something that focuses on a partial truth, that zeroes in on something small, exaggerates it, makes it worse than it really is, and comes up with a scornful verdict that is both based on exaggeration and narrowness, and it acts as if it's the whole, and it results in bitter, contemptuous scorn. That's not just your garden variety Lashon Hara. Bitter, contemptuous scorn. That's diba. And that's what they did. They brought that to not just Moshe, but to the entire Jewish people. And it's because of that dibat haaretz that everything goes completely south. Now, before we said, where is the other time where Miraglim are actually talked about? And we said it's the story of Joseph and his brothers. Is there any other place where this diba, this kind of contemptuous scorn speaking, occurs in the Torah? It's like only one other place in the entire Torah. And guess where it's going to land? Joseph and his brothers. If you remember that there was animosity and jealousy between Joseph and his brothers, and part of it started even before he got in with the dreams, there was already an issue. And let's take a look at that. So now keep your string here for the dibat haaretz of these men who went into the land of Israel. And now we're going to turn to Genesis chapter 37, verse 2. And I'll tell you what page that is as soon as I find it. 37, verse 2. Hold on a second. 37, verse 2. Okay. It is on page 199. So on page 199, starting with verse 1. Jacob settled in the land of his father's sojournings in the land of Canaan. These are the chronicles of Jacob. Joseph, at the age of 17, was a shepherd with his brothers by the flock, but he was a youth with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. Those, remember, were the handmaidens of Rachel and Leah, his father's wives. And Joseph would bring evil reports about them to their father. Now, we're not going to go into the different discussion about what it was he said and whether it was justified, but the word that he uses about them, if you look in the fourth line down in the Hebrew, the fourth word in, Vayave Yosef et dibatam ra'a al avihem. He brought diba about his brothers. Again, this isn't just like your tattletelling stuff. This is diba. This kind of word is already about this scornful verdict that is based on taking a partial something that is maybe true and exaggerating it to the exclusion of everything else, zeroing in and coming up with a scornful verdict. It says that's what he was doing to his brothers. Now, he was 17 years old. We're not talking about the most mature person. You can talk about his amygdala or whatever you want to talk about. It's not, fully developed yet or whatever the problem is with not being mature. But that's what he did. And that set the stage because he created this divisiveness and animosity. And it continues on, as we know, because then he's going to start telling his dreams. His brothers also see that their father loves him in a way that he gets attention in a way that they do not. And he basically alienates them. Now, if you go to page 201, he gives his dreams. Chapter 37, verse 10. This is already the second dream. And he related to his father and to his brothers. His father scolded him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamt? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, to bow down to you to the ground?" So his brothers were jealous of him. It says, but his father kept the matter in mind. So the Hebrew verse divides the sentence differently. I always thought that what Jacob kept in mind was the dream. What Jacob is keeping in mind is the jealousy. He's a father who's seeing that his family is being torn apart. So if you look in the Hebrew, verse Yud Aleph, which is 11, it says, Vaikanu vo echav. They were jealous of him, and his father kept that in mind. So his father, who now, not that you want there to be a problem in any family, but this is, you remember already we had the conversations about the matriarchs, that there were the four mothers, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah, and they knew there were going to be 12 tribes. And if there's four, then there would be three each, et cetera, et cetera. So we have this idea, this isn't just like your average family. This is the foundation of the Jewish people. And Yosef's brothers are jealous of him, and we know where this is going to lead. And so Jacob needs to do something. So what is it that he does? So first of all, look at the next page, verse 12. It says, now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock in Shechem. Now, I'm not so good at geography, not even in Denver, definitely not here in Israel. But as was pointed out by Rabbi Foreman, they were living in Hebron, and the brothers went to pasture in Shechem. This is 85 kilometers away. They didn't just go out to take the sheep. Basically, they were saying, we're out of here. And Joseph is ruining the family, and we need to come up with something to do. And that they left not like, oh, we're going to go take the sheep. They left. So what happens then? Now notice in verse 13, Jacob, who we know has two names, right? He's Yaakov, but he's also Yisrael. Yisrael is the name he gets after struggling with Esau's angel, and he becomes Yisrael. And it goes back and forth. We usually understand that when he's in the mode of Yisrael, that this is kind of, I'm not going to say like his prophetic name, but it's his name is like the Jewish people name. It's like B'nai Yisrael. We are the children of Yisrael, of Jacob, and Beit Yaakov, we are also the house of Jacob. So this kind of like Yaakov and Yisrael. So now he's in the mode of Yisrael. We have a problem. So Yisrael says to Yosef, your brothers are, it says, again, the English is a little awkward. The Hebrew is, Halo achecha ro'im b'Shechem, are not your brothers pasturing in Shechem? It's like a rhetorical question of, are your brothers have not like left and gone far away? And then he says to Joseph, Lecha ve'eshlachecha, come, go, and I will send you. I am going to send you. What is he going to send? I'm sending Alehem to them. And what does Yosef's answer? Vayomer lo, and he said to his father, the answer that is the answer when anyone is called to a spiritual mission. Hineni, I am here. This is what is the answer. It means I'm ready to do what you want. So now the subtext is going to be here, and this will make sense. Is picture Yaakov now in the role of Yisrael saying, Yosef, your brothers are in Shechem. You have made them jealous through your diba, the way you have spoken about them. You need to make peace. This is the sin of smart people who are very observant. I don't mean ritually observant, who see things and can criticize. Maybe you know somebody like this. They have a great sense of humor because they're very sharp, they're very smart, and they're very observant, and they'll zero in on something that somebody says or how somebody looks or whatever, and have some kind of cutting, sarcastic, snide comment to make. Stupid people aren't observing anything. I shouldn't say stupid. People who aren't like observing anything, they don't see anything. So Jacob is saying, as Yisrael, he's saying, Yosef, you are a leader of our family. I've invested in you. I know that you are a leader of our family, but it's a leader of the family, not just you yourself and I. You need to use your power of observation and curiosity and speaking to make peace, not create divisiveness in our family. So this you can hear in what Yaakov as Yisrael says, because now again in the English it says, go now, look into the welfare of your brothers and the welfare of the flock and bring me back word. But in the Hebrew is very different. He says, lech na, go now, re'eh, look at shalom achecha. Go look at the shlemut. Go look at the wholeness. Go look at the harmony of your brothers. V'et shalom hatzon. And the harmony and the well-being, but not well-being like, how you doing? Ma shlomchem, like, how are you? Go look at them to recognize and see with your powers of observation, and you're so smart, you need to bring peace back to our family. And I'm sending you to do that because you're the only one who can do it because they're angry because of what you have been saying. So you need to take care of this. Now, and then he says, V'hashiveni davar, and bring me back word. So it says after that, Vayishlachechu me'emet Chevron, and he sent him from the depths of Chevron, and he came towards Shechem. And then if we want to know, did Yosef understand what he was supposed to really do? And in the most could make you cry, this next little scenario here. It says that Vayipsaehu ish, that he came across, verse 15, a man discovered him, and behold, Yosef, was blundering in the field, which is kind of a weird thing. The man asked him, now this man obviously Hashem sent to be able to give us this word, because the man asks him, What does he ask him? He says, Ma tivakesh. What do you, not ma michapes, not what are you looking for, like I'm looking for, a needle in a haystack. It says, ma tivakesh. What is it that you are requesting? Now, this requesting is the word we use for davening. In davening, our requests are called bakashot because it's like bavakasha means please. And we have a beautiful psalm that has a very nice song to it. It's the end of Psalm 122. And it's Leman achai v'rei, Leman achai v'rei. And it says Leman achai v'rei, Adabra na shalom bach, Leman beit Hashem Eloheinu, avak shatov lach. May there, for the sake of my kin and my friends, I pray for your well-being. For the sake of the house of the eternal God, I seek your good. This is Bakesh. This is what Yosef's saying is, and he answers in the Hebrew, then this is what he actually says, Vayomer, and he says, this is the beginning of Tet Zion in the margin in the Hebrew, Et achai anochi mevakesh. My brothers do I request. Not, I'm trying to find them. I want my brothers. I want my brothers. The most poignant, saddest moment, because we know how this is going to end. His brothers, do they say, oh, here comes Yosef. He's a new person. We can see he really wants to be part of us. He wants us all to be together. No, no, no. Unfortunately, it says verse 18, they saw him from afar. They saw him from afar. Va yir'u oto merachok. They saw him from afar. They couldn't see who he really was at that moment. And when he had not yet even approached them, they conspired against him to kill him. And then, as we know, in the end, they don't kill him. They throw him in a pit and he's sold. And the Jewish people from there end up in slavery in Egypt. What led to that? Diba. The way the relationship got off track, went from bad to worse, all account of the Diba. And that's how we end up in the land of Egypt. What was Yaakov's request? What did he really want Yosef to do? He really wanted Yosef to go, get to know your brothers. You need to see them in a different way. You are not seeing them. You're seeing them from the perspective of Diba. You're zeroing in on something that they may or may not have done wrong, and you are exaggerating it, and you are judging them, and then you come and tell me all about it. And again, this wasn't just like petty, tattletelling. Yeah, my brother hit me. This was, you are undermining the family. You need to fix this. Now you could say Jacob was the one who needed to fix it. Okay. But Yosef was the one who had the issue, and he was the one who needed to come with a different attitude, an attitude of shalom. So now when we know this and we see what happens, now we're going to fast forward all the way to the Jewish people getting ready to basically re-enter the land of Israel. After, how did they get down there? They got down there through Diba. They got down to Egypt through Diba. So now we're going to have, let's try this again. I'm going to send you, and since all of the tribes were involved in this whole problem, we're going to send one person from each tribe. And I want you to go in, and now let's go back to our parsha, which now has, I think, the totally different feel of what was the assignment. The assignment that Moshe gave, that Hashem wanted, is I want you to go in. And just like you need to see your brothers, yes, they're all different. They have different personalities, different strengths, different weaknesses. Nobody's talking about perfection. But I need you to look at it, to know it, to be connected to it, to have a relationship. And the Jewish people have a relationship with the land of Israel that is not unlike a relationship that you have with a person. We say the land is sensitive. It's our holy land. People, even not having to do with the land of Israel, refer to the place of their origin as their motherland, their fatherland, that we have a very close connection. And going into the land of Israel is like, I want you to see all of it. So think about a business where you do a SWOT analysis. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that. That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you do that when you care about your business, when you care about your organization. You go through and say, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? And the goal is not you come to say, ugh, forget this business. I'm closing the whole thing. I don't want this organization, stinks. I'm not doing, let's dismantle it. That's not what that's for. It's in order to come in and do something about it. So think more about the early Zionists. They came to the Hula Valley, which was filled with swamps. They didn't say, oh, well, never mind this land. They were like, what do you do if there are swamps? You drain them. What do you do if there's no water? You bring in irrigation. What do you do if there's no trees? You plant them. It's like, it's like, you're going to be in a relationship with this land. This is the holy land. This is the land of our people. I want you to go in and see it and get to know it. And you spend 40 days there. Spend that time and then come back. And it says, and they brought word, but the word they brought swiftly went from word to Deba. And the answer, Hashem's response to this, remember the sin of the golden calf? You'd think that was the worst. The people who participated in it were killed and died, etc. But there was, in a way, no long-lasting impact from that, which is pretty amazing, as opposed to the sin here. Now, this is why they are called spies, not because of how they were sent out, but how they ended up becoming. Because it's only later our sages refer to them as spies. So whatchamacallit, where do I have it? Sorry. In the Mishnah of Sanhedrin, it says the spies who spread the evil report of their visit to Canaan, what's the result of them? It says they have no share in the world to come. You have to be really on the wrong list to have that be the result. No share in the world to come. And there they are called miraglim, because the work of a spy, can you imagine? You invite somebody to come and visit you, and you thought you were inviting them to come and visit you and spend time with you, and then you found out that they actually came to spy on you. It's like, what? So Hashem considers this such a complete betrayal that he sees it as that the word, let's see, hold on 1 second, that the word means, did I write it down? It is a scornful rejection of Hashem. And it is so complete that Hashem is like, you can't come into the land. So it's not as much a punishment as it is a reality. If that's how you're going to see the land, you can't come in, because this land won't function with a relationship like that. It was a true case of it being a toxic relationship. If it's a toxic relationship, there's no benefit to anybody of having it go forward. And so it was merciful of Hashem to say, no, you're going to stay in the desert. I'm not, the only people who were killed were the actual 12 men. I mean, 10, because Caleb and Yehoshua came back with a positive report. Their positive report, by the way, was not a negation of anything negative. They didn't say, no, that's not true. They just said, we can do it. And if Hashem wants us, we can achieve it. So let's take a look and see exactly what they say. So on page 803, this is chapter 13, verse 30. Caleb silences the people towards Moshe and says, we shall surely ascend and conquer it, for we can surely do it. So they do not accept, and they actually want to stone everybody. Turn to page 805. Excuse me. Caleb and Yehoshua both speak up. And they say, the land that we pass through, this is verse 7, is very, very good. If Hashem desires us, he will bring us to this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. But don't rebel against Hashem. Don't fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them. Hashem is with us. Do not fear them. So they do not refute any of the particulars. All they say is it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because Hashem is with us. This is what Hashem wants, and Hashem is going to help us, and Hashem's going to make this all happen. Where are we talking about it? Hold on a second. I'm sorry. So what's the challenge? It says the challenge that they had is the challenge we all have, which is Jewish people are supposed to be smart. Jewish people are supposed to be able to analyze and observe things. When somebody is analyzing something, it's very easy to get stuck on that which is negative and then have the other things fade out of you. And then you can end up with diba. The word diva is actually related, according to Rav Hirsch, to the word for chatter. But the kind of chatter, it means to like to chop up. And it's the type of speaking that's referred to as like if somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night or before you're fully awake in the morning and you start talking and kind of saying nonsensical things. Each word may be a word, but together they make no sense. It says that's what actually diba turns into, is it turns into something that is detached from actual reality. So what happens is those spies, they actually detached from reality, and in the process, they detached everyone else with them. So here's the challenge. It's easier to be like, oh, it's all good. It's all good. I don't see anything, I don't need to see anything, hear anything. It's all good. That's easy. Or it's easy to slice and dice something up and analyze it and break it down. And I think there's a word for deconstructionism. Deconstructionism, it's actually a philosophy when people do that with values, morals, ethics, etc., until they break it down until it's meaningless. That's an easy place to be. The hard place to be, because Judaism, Torah, God is always asking us to be in the most challenging place, which is, how do you analyze something and delve into the specifics of something without losing the whole? How do you see the trees and the forest at the same time? That's not so easy. That takes emunah, that takes some sort of overriding perspective that allows you to do that. The people who were successful doing that were only two people. Kalev, who it says went to Hebron. Interesting. He went to Hebron, to the place where Yaakov had been when he sent Yosef from Hebron into the wilderness. And Kalev, when he goes on to his mission, goes from the wilderness to Hebron. So he's going back to the place of chibur, of connection, to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah, and he connects to that overall mission and purpose. And within that, then he can hold on to being able to see the details without losing track of the overall mission. Yehoshua is able to do it because Moshe gives him a bracha and changes his name, gives him an added hey, which says it came from Sarah. That the hay he gets not a hay, he gets a yud, that Sarah went from Sarai to Sarah, and the yud that got dropped from Sarah's name is like, what am I, chopped liver? And it's like, no, you're going to come in the future. I'm going to give you Sarah's perspective added to Hosea. He becomes Yehoshua, because Sarah had the vision, right? That's what she had, vision to be able to see what was the right thing to do. Everything that Sarah says, do. So with that giving of that yud for Yehoshua, Moshe is able to strengthen Yehoshua, Hoshea ben Nun, and also Caleb strengthened himself by going to Hebron. So this tells us, almost like the question that Etta asked at the beginning, it's like, how are Israelis and Jewish people here living here? How are we dealing with this craziness? Because, and Hashem should protect us from having dibat haaretz, that we should not have dibat haaretz. When you have an overall purpose and you know the tachlis, the bottom line, what you're doing and why, all of the other pieces somehow manage to actually fit together in some sort of way. They don't deter you. They don't take you off track. So now this is going to make sense, because at the end of this parsha, we have the mitzvah of tzitzit. So that's the very end. It's the mafter of shalach, and this is the mitzvah of tzitzit and of the patil techelet, of the blue string. So now let's turn to that, and that is on page 817. So this is the third blessing of the Shema that we say every single day. Chapter 15, verse 37. So there's a general principle that many sages look at, which is that the end of the parsha always somehow ties to the beginning of the parsha. And this one is not going to be hard to make the connection because the words are even repeated. So we have Hashem says to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them that they shall make themselves tzitzit on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and they shall place upon the tzitzits of each corner a thread of turquoise wool. It shall constitute tzitzit for you, that you may see it and remember all the commandments of Hashem and perform them, and not explore after your heart and after your eyes, after which you stray, so that you may remember and perform all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Hashem your God, who has removed you from the land of Egypt to be a God unto you. I am Hashem your God. What's the repeating language? Is the second line from the bottom of the Hebrew, where it says in the Kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam, you shall do them, and then the keywords below taturu, and you shall not go exploring. That's the same word as the very beginning of the parsha, where Hashem tells Moshe to send the men latur et haaretz. And now Hashem is saying, what's the antidote to how this went so wrong? Tzitzit. Whether you're wearing them or not wearing them as women and looking at them, we still say it. It says women have internal tzitzit. So Rav Hirsch and others say, just as an aside, that had Moshe sent women in, we would not have had this problem. The women would have come back with the correct understanding, because they have the understanding. We have internal tzitzit. We have internal, that blue thread. And that blue thread is, the color blue is techelet. And that word is related to the word tachlis, tachlit, which means when you say, let's talk tachlis, like if you're bargaining or doing something, say a business, okay, let's talk tachlis. Let's talk the bottom line. What's it all about? If you don't have a tachlis, you kind of don't have anything, and then you will be subjected to diba. If you don't have something that's holding everything together, then it's going to fall apart, and it's going to turn into diba, and there's going to be a big problem. So this is shelo taturu acharei levavchem. So you don't go exploring after your eyes are going to show you this, your heart's going to think this, and you're going to get befuddled. And it's going to take you in a very dangerous place. And this is going to be in all aspects of our lives. So this is not from Rabbi Foreman, but this piece here about talking about the techelet and the tachlis. This is having this in mind. As I said, I think it was, what's his name? I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting it. The Poland. When you have a why, you can deal with whatever what. If you know why you're doing something, then you can deal with whatever. The boy who was murdered in the Hamas, what's his name? It's escaping me.
Hirsch Goldberg.
Thank you, Trudy. Yes, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland. that he said, and other hostages quoted him, that when you have a why, when you know your why, you can find your whatever it is that you can deal with anything. You can do it. It says, and why, your why is your tachlis. If you know why, what your why is, what your bottom line is, what your mission is, what your purpose is, and you look at that and you remember that every day. And to say the Shema and to say this, I need to remember who I am, what I'm doing here. I represent the Jewish people, loud and proud. That's who I am. Then all these other things, they don't come into the forefront of your picture. They just take their place in the whole rather than just being something to zero in on. So I would offer also, because it says, why techelet? Why this
But there
color
is
blue?
something else.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about that yet.
No. It's to do with the fact that we have the land, and at our point in Jewish history, we know no other land is going to give us what this land is. There's that
For
added
sure.
bit that's
For
come
sure.
up recently.
But we're gonna talk about something else now. So that the techelet, this color blue. So it says, why is it blue? So it says that Hashem made it this color blue because the blue, to remind you of that the blue is the color of the sea, which is the color of the sky, which is the color of Hashem's throne, the Kisei HaKavod, which is sapphire blue, which is almost this color, but not quite. A sapphire blue. Actually, it is almost this color. Sapphire blue. So the question is more, why is the Kisei HaKavod, why is Hashem's throne of glory blue? Why isn't it like red rubies? Like it could be some other pretty color. So I'm going to suggest that it's going the opposite way. That Hashem made his throne that color and made the sea and the sky that color because those two things both represent the most expansive thing human beings have to look at, to have like a whole thing. If you look at the sea, you can never just look at one drop of water. First of all, if you take one drop of water, or even if you take a cup of water, we were in Greece and the water was gorgeous. If I would have taken a cup of that gorgeous water and taken it into my room on the ship, what color is that water? Not blue, not blue. And if I take a bottle of air outside from the sky and I bring it inside, what color is that air? Not blue. The blue is a result of the sun and the atmospheric conditions and blah, blah, all these other things I don't even know scientifically. The blue represents the fact that it is a whole thing. The sea is only blue when it is the sea. The sky is only blue when it is the sky, the entire atmosphere. That is the expansiveness. That's Hashem's throne. That's what that means. It's only in the totality of it that you actually have the tachlis. I know it's the whole package. I know it's the whole package. So when I look at that color, it's to remind me of, I can't even get my head around this. I can't get my head around the sea. You can't even see it because of the horizon. The earth is round. So I can't even see the whole thing. And the sky can't even see the whole sky. So how can I perceive the wholeness of another person? How can I chop them up and like slice them and dice them and then speak deep about them? Not just Lashon Hara, but cut them up in little pieces and exaggerate this. This is who they are. It's like, excuse me? They are as big as the sea. They are as big as the sky. Hashem saw that is to be created, but Selam Elokim, it says that we are, a person is one, unique and singular, but it doesn't just mean there's only like one of you. It means that even you, each of us, is not we cannot compartmentalize a person. Yes, you can analyze certain things, but you cannot compartmentalize and say, this is what they are. Even a person, according to Jewish law, who is executed for a capital offense, according to all the appropriate laws, even if they are executed, they must be buried before the sun sets. Why? No matter how heinous the crime they committed. Because they were created, but Selam Elokim. Even that crime does not in the end, fully describe who they are, no matter what. So, God willing, the people in our lives are not people who are guilty of capital offenses by Jewish standards and have not been convicted by a Jewish court of law. So, to be able to have this perspective is not just about how we see the land of Israel and the people of Israel, but our own lives and other people as well. Because we have to remember that the tragedy started in one family unit with things going off track. When there is so much divisiveness amongst the Jewish people, it's nothing new, but that shouldn't give us permission to say there's nothing we can do about it. Because from each of our own perspectives, we are supposed to have tachlis eyes of this person, this perspective. Now, I'm not talking about, we are not including, just want to make this clear, we are not including people who are enemies of the Jewish people who want our death and destruction. They are actually not included in this. We're talking about regular people, Jewish people, people who have not, whose moral compass has not completely shattered. So we need to understand that when we're looking at people, because most of our gripes about people are actually within the Jewish community. It's these people and those people and those people. Now you can criticize what they're doing or how they're doing it. That's fair because we're supposed to analyze. But to come to a contemptuous, scornful verdict on the totality of who and what they are is not in our purview. So with that, we see what is it that we're supposed to do is to work on having techelet eyes, of keeping the whole picture in line and seeking shalom, of seeking like, how can I get to know this person better? If there's something that is not sitting well with me, I just maybe don't know enough about them. I haven't seen the whole, because the goal is to be able to bring it all together. It's very challenging. The sin that the Jewish people committed with this was so grievous, and God does forgive the Jewish people, even though there's a consequence. And when he forgives them, it's interesting. Let's take a look and see where he forgives them, because it's like, oh, I can't believe that we did this. Let's see if I can find it. It's actually the beginning of Yom Kippur. It's in the davening. Hold on a second. I had my machzor before. Okay. I'm sorry. Page 807. 807. This is chapter 14, verse 19. It says, "Forgive now the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your kindness, and as you have forgiven this people from Egypt until now." And Hashem said, "I have forgiven because of your words." Those words, that's the opening of Yom Kippur. Right after Kol Nidre, before we say the Shehachianu, these words from our parsha are featured. I always thought that the words had to do with the sin of the golden calf, because Yom Kippur is the commemoration of when we got the second luchot, the second set of tablets, and God's complete forgiveness for the sin of the golden calf. But those are not the words. The words come from our parsha and are about the sin of the spies. So if we're looking at what do we need to work on more? Sin of the golden calf, sin of the spies. It says the people who were supposed to be tourists who turned into spies. It's like that is such a betrayal. And Hashem is, how long are you going to scorn me and reject my land? Because it's one and the same. And our goal is to love the land of milk and honey, with all of its challenges, the challenging people, the challenging land, the challenging drivers. we were driving the other day, and the motorcycles act as if they like have their own laws, their own thing. And this motorcyclist kind of darts in front of Steve and gives the Israeli excuse me, like wait. He does that to Steve. Like Steve is like in his lane, and the motorcycle is like let me in. I'm like, we love you. He probably is like a medic on his free time. Like, who knows? It's just like, it's so infuriating. So it's like, okay. And these are our people. This is our land. It is an absolute miracle. And so, of course, on this week's parsha, we are also supposed to be speaking well of the land of Israel. And I don't need to tell anybody that in this day and age, speaking well of the land and the people of Israel and of the Jewish people is not just a nice thing to focus on. It is essential, mostly essential for us, because we're the ones who count. It's like what the Jewish people say about the land of Israel is the most important thing. And as Serena was commenting before about how we have the presence of mind to be able to understand like our tachlis of the Jewish people in the land of Israel at this time, with almost half of the world's Jews living in the land of Israel, is a complete miracle. It's a complete miracle for which we are daily grateful.
But also we see it's the end of days. This is the point. We see this is the only land that is going to protect us. And we are now in a not before known position in the modern world that we are powerful enough as a country to survive. So this is why I believe God has made it so hard to live in Chutz La'aretz, except in Lakewood or you can't live in this community.
Thank you, Selena. Thank you.
Right? So we have what to fight for.
Thank you. So this is to be able to focus on this, and our understanding is like we are so blessed. There are so many miracles constantly with us. This week at the hospital at Shaarei, I think it was at Shaarei Tzedek, just individual little miracles. 2 identical twin brothers. Their wives both gave birth on the same day. Again, last time they gave birth on the same day to girls, and now they gave birth on the same day to boys. And so it's like a picture of them. It was like, thank you, Hashem, for that little I gotcha. So miracles totally around us. Celebrate the land of Israel, land of milk and honey. Focus on the tachlis. And so thank you to everyone, and mazel tov to Selena. And I'll hope to see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Yasher Koach. Unbelievable. Sure. So grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Pleasure.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Have a great week. Thank you.
Amazing.
It was incredible. I will look at the Shema very differently when I get to that paragraph.
So what do we have to do when we say the Shema to think Lotatu? What did you say when we say the Shema?
About Techelet, about Tachlis, about understanding what our focus and mission is, of having a true sense of our Tachlis, of the Techelet, and V'lo Taturu, Achrei Levavchem v'Achrei Einechem, to like not go touring off in the wrong direction, to make sure that our focus keeps us grounded in what we're supposed to be looking at and how we look at it, so that we don't end up in the Dibat Haaretz or Diba on our brothers and sisters of fellow Jewish people. Not just speaking Diba on anybody, but specifically get a family first, and then the rest of the world will follow. So if we get the family worked out, everyone else will work out. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me.